Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome back to another second stimulus check, or actually at this point I guess you can even now say, crazy as it is to think, a third stimulus check and third stimulus package unemployment benefits extension update, because we do have really great brand new news to share, and we basically have now officially received the details, as most of you guys probably anticipated, of Biden's brand new stimulus package, which was recently just revealed Thursday, which is basically yesterday. So we're definitely going to be talking about that. Now, I do think in today's video, we're going to probably focus a lot more specifically about the unemployment programs, because I really want to kind of dive deep into the different parts. The great news is that the package is big. It's specifically priced at $1.9 trillion, which is really awesome. And also keep in mind is that this package technically is also an add-on to the second stimulus check package, which was priced at $900. So if you put all of them together, technically by logic, we're basically talking about basically a almost $3 trillion package within just a 1 to 2 month time span, which I personally think, after the incredible long wait of basically most of last year, I think is pretty amazing news. Now, the great news is that because there are so many different parts, I'll probably explore the other parts of the stimulus package in a future video, so definitely subscribe if you guys are brand new here. Always happy to have you guys. So we're going to get started right away about the unemployment. I really just want to talk about the unemployment situation, the qualifications, the details, how much it is, how long it's going to go for, how it's going to relate to the PUA and the PUC program, and maybe also where we currently stand in terms of the unemployment situation as just like a global news in general. We're going to try to dive and explore all of that today. But before we begin, make sure you smash the like button, I guess, in light of this really great news as well. Consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification button so you guys can get updates on future videos. Even more true as we make more videos diving into the other different parts, or also any kind of adjustments or things like that. Consider and feel free to comment any questions, thoughts about really anything really at all, or even maybe about your state and whether or not you've received your stimulus check or your unemployment yet, because do keep in mind it's today, Friday, or maybe if you're watching this into the future, but nonetheless Friday is the deadline for when they're going to be sending out the stimulus checks. There may be a slight delay, so maybe it'll take a couple days into next week, but I do believe that the overwhelming majority have probably already received their stimulus checks, which is the really great news. So definitely smash the like button in light of that. So with that being said, we're going to get started right away. Let's go. Now, real fast before we begin, if you guys are someone that still happens to be waiting for your stimulus check, since today is the deadline, I know there's a couple of you, I did make another video where I talk a lot more about delays. I believe it's called Important Delays in Taxes. So I kind of explain what happened, especially with the turbo tax. It'll make a lot more sense if you are currently still waiting. I do also have another video that talks about whether or not you should reapply and refile, since I do know that was a very common question. And then another one that talks a lot more about the arrival dates. So definitely check that out. If you guys are brand new here, consider subscribing and checking that out. Now, of course, all of those dates are estimates. Thankfully, I think most of them have been right on like part, but of course there always have been, and there already actually are a few states that are going through delays. We try our best to kind of try to cross-check the information as best as we can, but of course that's what we always say, is that there's always going to be delays, especially if you're working with unemployment systems that are relatively pretty old. I think that it's should be expected to have happened, and it is basically what's going on now. But I figured it's better to at least have some kind of time frame than to just go in totally blind and open what's going on. So that's it's just something to basically work with for now. So that being said, we'll get started. So I really just want to maybe just take one quick minute to really touch up about the unemployment situation as a whole, because the unemployment numbers did recently come out. The fast answer is that it's pretty bad. I believe that last week it was reported that about 960,000 people joined the unemployment workforce, specifically applying for traditional unemployment. If you guys don't remember, the previous week before that, we had about 784,000 people join in. I think the last time we had over 950,000 was something around August 2020. So we really are now trying to relapse back once again. And keep in mind, this is only with traditional. So when you include PUA, I believe about 284,470 people applied for the PUA. The previous week before that was about 180,000. So when you combine it together, the previous week, we had a little bit under 1 million people apply for unemployment, and now this most recent week, we had 1.3. So we really are trying to build back. But that's also the reason why I do say is that if you are going through something right now, is that it really is very, very difficult, but to maybe just try the best to really stay strong, because there's so many that are really in it together. But the great news is that we do have a lot of unemployment, which we're going to talk about. This is actually really, really important to know, only because if eventually we were trying to get out of the unemployment system and actually go back to work, it really gives perspective about what the job market looks like right now. So now, when it comes to the Biden stimulus plan, if you want to know the fast answer about what's in it, this is pretty much the fast answer about it. So $1,400 stimulus checks, and then just a whole bunch of different programs. Now, I did specifically state that I'll probably focus today's video on the unemployment situation. I'll probably talk about the other parts in the future videos, so definitely subscribe for that if you guys are brand new here. So when it comes to the unemployment situation, the unemployment part of that package, they're currently going to be doing $400 unemployment, and it's going to be applying to both PUA and PUC, specifically all the way taking the unemployment program, because right now, keep in mind, it's going on for 11 weeks until about mid-March. They're going to be taking the unemployment program until around the end of September, which I think is crazy, because that means that now we're going to go from 11 weeks to 11 weeks plus 6 months, which I think is pretty incredible. Now, keep in mind is that it still does have to get approved, so that is something to really, really note. But at least right now, it's on the table. Mitch McConnell is no longer going to be the majority. It still does have to go through an approval, but it hopefully now will have much significantly better odds, especially given the pandemic situation actually really, really rising right now. I think we've kind of almost become just so used to the numbers going up, even though we're actually even worse than where we were about like a month ago or just a couple months ago. The reality is I think people have almost become a little bit numb to it, because we're almost so used to like all of the crazy news that's really been happening that it's almost become a regular now. But this unemployment program would be for $400 per week, picking up in March all the way down until the end of September. Sadly, it's not going to be retroactive, so they are going to be basically doing it as kind of a pickup program instead of like a retro program. So I know that is something people were wondering. The great news though is that I do believe that this unemployment is going to be universally applied to almost everyone, which basically means that if you are on unemployment, you would basically get it regardless of how much you're collecting now. Because keep in mind is that if you were someone that was on unemployment during the August, September stretch, maybe comment if you guys remember that part. There were a lot of people that were wondering, because back then there was a $100 requirement or threshold. In this program, the great news is that regardless of whether or not you're on PUA, PUC, traditional, EB, Fed Ed, all of these programs would be able to pick up and do the $400, whether you are collecting $1 unemployment or you are collecting $500 on unemployment. I remember in the last program, if you guys remember, it's crazy I used to think when we had the $600 unemployment boost, I had a friend that was, a couple actually, that were collecting like $1,000 per week on unemployment, because they were getting 400 plus 600 for just basically like just sitting and chilling around. That's like the really, really crazy thing. But I figured the great news is at least we are getting an upgrade from the $300 to the $400 of unemployment. Now, one maybe also great thing to note is that there are also some subtle talks. I know it's a little bit probably early to kind of talk about it, but there have actually been some like talks. I believe Biden did briefly mention that he may even consider extending the unemployment even further than September. Of course, right now this package, keep in mind, is still a proposal, so it very, very much can still very, very much end up changing. Hopefully it doesn't end up being changed like the 5, 6, 7 times from like the 6-month stall, if you guys remember, from like most of the second half of last year when we were really, really waiting for the stimulus package to finally come. I think that thankfully, hopefully this should be a much smoother process, but it still does have to end at the end of the day get approved, and it's still very likely could very, very much possibly get tweaked. So it is just maybe something to note. So that's what I really wanted to cover in today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. As always, remember to smash the like button if you guys hopefully did. Feel free to comment any questions, thoughts, maybe your personal thoughts about this program, your state, whether you've received stimulus, unemployment, or really honestly just anything at all. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for hopefully the next video where we explore the different parts, especially parts of maybe the actual stimulus checks, because that is probably also just as important as well. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well. Have a great weekend or have a great start to the week depending on when you're watching this, and thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much again.